Yo, what's up, guys? Pokemon fans, I'm bringing you a power ranking and team analysis video today. Yeah, this is the long-awaited team analysis for the new league that I'm in, the Machamp Lounge, TML for short. As you guys can see in the top left corner, TML Season 7. And what you see on your screen is the draft. So let me just start off by telling you what kind of teams we decided to draft. So this is a bit different than my previous draft league in that I think we're following I can't remember the draft league that's on YouTube, but they're doing one just like this. So we have one S tier pick, as you guys can see on the left in the red, one A tier pick in the yellow, 3 B tier picks in the gray, and then 4 C tier picks in the green. So this adds a little bit of strategy to the draft because knowing that you can only pick one S or one A, you can kind of save those for later, and you can make deals with people, and you might want to start grabbing the high B tier picks and the high C tier picks in the beginning. So I'm just going to go down along the list of the teams, and then at the end I'll give a full rankings of all the teams 1 through 12. And yeah, so let's start off with the first coach, David, and he is coach of the Las Vegas Corviknights. So this team is really good. I got my notebook here, as you guys can hear. I'm gonna be going through my notes. It's been a long video coming. I'm taking lots of notes. So first off, I just want to start off by saying it's got double dragons, but with different weaknesses. So that's very good. That they don't share the same weaknesses. Duraludon is neutral to fairy, while Dragapult is immune to fighting and etc. whatnot. So that's good. One thing I did notice though, that it is pretty fairy weak. The only thing that resists is Centiskorch and Orbeetle, so the 2 bugs he has down there. But in my opinion, those are probably his weakest picks on his team, and he might not be bringing that every week. So watch out for that fairy. He's also ground weak, as he has no immunities. He has some resistances in Orbeetle and Serena, but Orbeetle is the only one with recovery, really. I guess Serena can get recovery, but mostly gonna want those to be a little more offensive. Orbeetle is gonna be good. Might be a bring more often in the weeks. So because of Orbeetle, he does have Sticky Web support, so that helps out Drapion, Serena, Duraludon, Orbeetle, and Centiskorch. So all of those really benefit from that, and so that's good. Drapion is really good for his team because it adds knockoff and T-Spikes. So he's got Duraludon for rocks, Drapion for T-Spikes, and Orbeetle for Sticky Webs. He doesn't have much hazards, but those are good solid hazards to have. And yeah, so his team is a little slow on the slow side. Dragapult is his only Pokemon over base 100, I believe. But a lot of them are kind of in mid. Got Morpeko in the 90s. You got Duraludon in the 80s. Orbeetle 90. Centiskorch in the 70, I think. Drapion is up there. So it's in the mid, but yeah. So he's got good walls with Gastrodon and Alchemy. They both have reliable recovery. So that's good. Orbeetle can be a wall as well. And the double bug could be good offensively. So yeah, so overall I decided to grade this team an A. So for each team, I want to highlight one Pokemon per team that I'm going to be having my eye on, who I think will be really good for the team. And for David's team, I think that one will be Orbeetle. So watch out for Orbeetle. It gets set up. It's a bulky bug type, gets recovery, sticky webs. So I feel like that's going to be playing a key role to his team. Next, we have Austin. Let me zoom in a little bit. Over here on the left, we got coach of the Tracy Troxtricity, and as you guys can see, we've already started playing during the week. It's 0-1, so there's that. But let me just go off to his list. His team. So we got Dracovish, Cinderace, Bronzong, Rillaboom, Slurpuff, Heliolisk, Claydol, Quillfish, and Dusclops. Let me flip through my pages and get through the team. So First off, I want to just take note that Slurpuff does get the access to sticky webs, but it lost Belly Drum this generation, so it's not as threatening itself, but it can be good support. It can calm mind, it can wish, has aromatherapy, it's got good coverage, pretty average stats, but I feel like it'd be a good fairy kind of wish passer, heal beller, cleric, all that stuff. So it's not too bad. It's just a different role. Cinderace I really like on this team. It's the fastest Pokemon on his team. Good coverage, good. It's pretty strong. It's a top tier A tier rank. I think it's one of the best A tiers. It gets U-turn, court change for the hazards, and it's actually pretty decently bulky. I believe it has around 80 HP and in the 80s of the defenses as well. So yeah. Next I want to talk about Rillaboom. Rillaboom is a really good grass type. It gets U-turn as well. Knockoff is going to be huge this generation. A lot of Pokemon lost knockoff. Has really good coverage with things like I think it gets Heavy Slam or Iron Hair, something like that. Earthquake. It gets a bug move, U-turn. So it's got some good coverage. So that's good. It's actually underrated as well, and with its signature move, Drum Beating, it can lower the opponent's speed. So that's pretty good. Dracovish, you know, can't not talk about Dracovish on this team. So with the addition of Slurpuff's sticky webs, Dracovish doesn't have to be scarfed every week. If he can keep sticky webs on the field, and with Dusclops as a really good spin blocker, he probably could do that. So keep that in mind. Dracovish is going to be huge, but it's actually only kind of really strong with Vicious Rend. So as long as you have a good water switching, it's not, I mean, I think it has 90 base attack, so it's not going to be doing lots of damage unless it's like Choice Band or something. Yeah, Heliolisk is another Pokemon that's over base 100, so that's good. It's really fast. It's got great coverage. One of my favorite electric types, honestly. It gets Hyper Beam, it gets Surf, it gets Volt Switch, T-Bolt, Grass Knot, I believe. It gets Dark Pulse. It gets a lot of good coverage moves. And with its abilities of Solar Power, Sand Veil, and Dry Skin. My favorite being Dry Skin, as that makes it water immune. It gains life, but it makes it a little weak to fire. So, you know, that's going to be a little bit of an issue on his team. But he's got Dracovish and Quillfish as well to switch into that. So that's not too bad. Claydol is, I think, his only spinner on his team. Yeah, his only spinner, only way of getting rid of hazards. So that's, you know, he's a little weak to hazard in that sense. He does have Bronzong and Claydol both to set up Stealth Rocks, while Quillfish can set up, I think it gets both T-Spikes and Spikes. So one thing I want to talk about real quick is Quillfish. I really like this Pokemon. It gets Intimidate. Let me know. This music might be a little too loud. Let me turn it down, guys. I really like Quillfish, honestly, guys. It's a poison type. It's very underrated in my opinion. It's kind of fast. I think it's in the 80-85 range. Its attack is a little average, and I think it's in the 90s or something like that. But it is decently bulky, especially with the Intimidate, and the typing is really good. So that's good. Yeah. Another Pokemon that's really underrated is Dusclops. So with Eviolite getting kind of like I wouldn't say a boost this generation, but because of a lot of Pokemon losing knockoff, Eviolite is a lot more viable. It's really bulky, a lot more bulkier than Dusknoir. It gets Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split, and you know, it just needs like a Nightshade or a Shadow Ball. It gets priority with Shadow Sneak, so that's good. So I really like Dusclops, Quillfish pick, but the Claydol pick, I'm not a real fan of Claydol. I don't like Claydol, even though it does get Levitate, so that helps. And but I think it's weak. It's really passive. It, you know, can't really do much. Yeah, so it has no. Actually, this team also has no setup. So I was looking at it, and I don't think anything really can set up on the opponent. Maybe Rillaboom with Swords Dance. I'll have to double check on that. But I doubt it. So it does get bulk up, so that's fine. Yeah, and it does get Swords Dance. So I think it is only Rillaboom that gets like proper setup. Slurpuff too, but you know, we'll see about that. So his team is actually kind of slow. Like I said, Cinderace and Helios are the only fast ones on the team. Everything else is pretty slow. Rillaboom, it can be underrated. Dracovish is pretty slow, but yeah, overall I gave this team an A minus. So the Pokemon I want to highlight on this team, the X Factor Pokemon is, I think, it's gonna be between Quillfish and Dusclops. I want to say Dusclops. I like Dusclops more here because it does get Pain Split. It is very annoying. Will-O-Wisp as well, and it can just do damage. Ghost is really good this generation, so yeah, watch out for Dusclops, guys. Again, overall grade an A minus. Next we have Steven. So this is one of the teams that I looked at first, and I kind of, underrated it, and let me see if I can find out my notes, and was looking at it, and I kind of ranked it a little lower at first, but after going through it, I feel like it has amazing synergy with Sun, like with Ninetales probably coming every week. It helps Vileplume, it helps Togekiss, it helps just a lot of his Pokemon can benefit from the Sun, and he's got a pretty good synergy in that way. So let me just go down. So with Ninetales, he gets access to Nasty Plot. It's a base 100 speed. I like that base 100 in this generation because it outspeeds a lot of walls, a lot of potential threats, and yeah, so it's got a pretty good coverage too. You got Solar Beam, it has Size Shock, but the thing is that it's kind of weak, so it's gonna need that Nasty Plot, or it's not gonna do too much damage. Vileplume, I like the synergy with Ninetales here. It's a water switch in. It's a grass switch in as well. Not that Ninetales is weak to grass or anything. I'm just saying it's a really good grass switch in. So it's got really great coverage too. Sludge Bomb, grass, and then anything gets Shadow Ball and like Moon Blast and things like that. But it has no fire type attacks. I think I'll have to double check right now, but with Sun, I think it does get Weather Ball. So Weather Ball is gonna make his attack a fire type attack, and in the Sun, no, it doesn't. So I just double checked. It does not get Weather Ball. So don't worry about Weather Ball. So no fire type attacks. Yeah, so it does get like Giga Drain. It does get Leech Seed. Like I said, but it also gets Moonlight. So I think that will help in the Sun. So yeah, and also gets Toxic too. So don't sleep on it. It's just toxicing your whole team. So that's good. Next I want to talk about Basculin. So Basculin, this one, I know Steven's a fan of it, but it's good, it's strong, it's underrated, it's kind of fast. I think it's like 98 or something. It's got good coverage, but you know what it's going to do. It's really weak on the defensive side. It doesn't get Mold Break. It gets adaptability, so that's good for the water types. It gets priority with Aqua Jet. It gets Ice Fang, Psychic Fangs. It got kind of good coverage, Taunt, Superpower, but it's kind of just, you know what it's gonna do. It kind of just does one thing. It just attacks. So it can't recover, and it's weak. So you can whittle this thing down pretty easily, especially if you have a good wall and or something fast that can take it out in one hit. So really easily revenged in my opinion. So but Hitmontop, I really like the Hitmontop pick here because it gets spin, it gets priority, it gets technician, so it gets intimidate as well. It's really bulky. You can slap an assault vest on it, you can slap a Rocky Helmet on it. It does a lot, honestly. It doesn't have too much coverage because it's mostly like fighting. I think it gets one dark type attack, but it does get Bullet Punch for the fairy coverage, and let me see. So it does get Bulk Up, so it can set up with Bulk Up. It gets Earthquake, Mach Punch, but yeah, like I said, it's just kind of like Stone Edge, Earthquake, fighting type move, Bullet Punch, Mach Punch, things like that. So it does get Sucker Punch too. Counter, so keep in mind Counter. I've used Counter before with it being really bulky, Intimidate, all that stuff is pretty good. So Yeah, so him on top I like this. So I wanted to get those before I started talking about his big heavy hitters. So we got Garvantula, Gudra, Togekiss, Aegislash over here. Oh, well, there is Unfezant at the bottom. That thing, one thing I do want to note about Unfezant is that it has the rare Trinity, the 3 that I call the Trinity or whatever, is that it gets Defog, U-turn, and Roost. So back in the previous gens, a lot of things got Roost, a lot of things got U-turn, and a lot of things got kind of like Defog. So things like Mandibuzz, I even think Togekiss got it, like Mew, like a lot of things got that. But now this generation, Defog is rare, and Roost is rare, and Pheasant gets all 3, so that's pretty good. But the thing is, it's not really a bulky Pokemon. It's actually pretty strong. It has base 115, and it's got good coverage. Brave Bird, Night Slash, U-turn, like I said, Tailwind, Taunt. It gets Heat Wave for those steel types, but yeah, I don't really think this is gonna be too much of an issue for people. It's only in base 93, but yeah, it could put in a little work if you don't expect it. But yeah, anyways. So Garvantula adds the webs option here, so that makes things like Basculin more viable, Unfezant a little bit more viable, and same with Gudra, Togekiss, all these things. It adds like them being bulky or like non-threatening to being more of a threat, especially things like Basculin. You could slap a Life Orb or a Choice Band, say with Unfezant, and Gudra too. So Gudra here, I like this pick here. It's really bulky, resists a lot, can has a lot of coverage, Flamethrower, Power Whip, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, things like that. Shadow Ball, I think too. So Togekiss here, it got a downgrade in my opinion. It doesn't have Defog anymore, and it doesn't get Roost, but it does get Morning Sun, so that benefits from the sun. Like I said, that's one of the things that has good synergy with it. It does get Flamethrower, has really good coverage. So it still gets Ancient Power, it still gets Flamethrower, like I said, but Dazzling Gleam, Air Slash, T-Wave. So it still kind of does the same things. It just lost Roost and Defog. So it's not going to be much of a bulky threat, more of an offensive threat. So keep that one in mind. I think it too gets Nasty Plot. So keep that in mind. It could be a sweeper. Let me see. So it still gets Aura Sphere and Nasty Plot. So yeah. And then last but not least, Aegislash. I think this is one of the best S tier, best picks in the game. Aegislash is going to be very hard to break, especially if Steven knows how to use it. It's a great typing, really great bulk. He gets King Shield. You can run specs on it. It's a good fairy answer for him. It's really strong. Priority with Shadow Sneak. That coveted steel type, it's just, and Ghost this generation is just off the charts. So yeah, Aegislash is going to be winning a lot of his games if he can play it right. Make sure he times his King Shields, times his setups and stuff like that. So yeah, overall I decided to, after so it doesn't have much recovery, but I do think it has a lot of good synergy. So overall I gave this an A, a solid A. And moving on, we have John here. So John has been kind of dogged on in the chat a little bit for his draft. And, it's kind of like a running joke that he kind of drafted a pretty bad team. So, but after looking through it, I wouldn't say it's too bad. After especially going over it a second time, there is some thought to it. He does not have any Dragon, Steel, or Fairy, so none of the like elite types. He doesn't have any of that. It's kind of gimmicky, but I do have to say that it has good synergy. It has a lot of hazards. So with Torkoal, with Dugtrio, I think Cloyster can set has hazard spikes, T-spikes. You got Shuckle being able to set sticky webs, all kinds of hazards. So it's really hazard heavy. It gets Eldegoss for spin, Torkoal for spin, Drifblim for defog. So it has hazard control on deck. So actually I take that back about wait no I didn't say Cloyster, right? No Cloyster, because Cloyster did lose rapid spin this generation. That's a that kind of sucks, but now it's back to its threatening Shell Smash set. But I think now, I don't know if it's because of the generation or because people catching on to it now, but it's not as much of a threat anymore as it used to be. But yeah, so again, I want to start by saying that the synergy starts with Torkoal. So I think, wait, hold on. I gotta go back to Steven. So, giving the grade, I want to say that I forgot to do the X Factor Pokemon, the highlight Pokemon on Steven's team. So Steven's team, I do want to highlight Vileplume here. So Vileplume, I think Steven does really well with underrated low tier picks, things like Vileplume, and I think he's going to be using it very well, especially with the sun and the coverage and all that stuff. So yeah, Vileplume is the one. So anyways, back to this one. So talking about Torkoal setting up the sun, that kind of sets the groundwork for Charizard. I feel like Charizard is going to be one of his main things, trying to hit hard. So it gets solar, because of its solar power ability and sun, it's going to be hitting super hard. It gets solar beam, but the thing is that I don't think it's strong enough to be, and it's not fast enough to be what he wants it to be. Kind of like a wall-breaking sweeper that can just come in and just wreck the whole team. I think a lot of Pokemon are going to be faster, that can revenge it, and a lot of Pokemon are not going to be O-code unless it's like a Fire Blast in the sun with solar power, choice specs, and shit like that. With webs, it does help it out, so that's where the synergy comes in. Yeah, so Dugtrio, I want to talk here. I think it's honestly the worst value of S tier. I'm not a fan of Dugtrio here. It kind of just does one thing. It just traps and tries to take out threats, but I don't think it's threatening enough. I think it's expected. You can see it on the team. You can build for it. You can expect it, and yeah, it does have the ability to set stealth rocks. So if it gets like a focus sash set, a lead, it can set rocks. It gets sucker punch priority. But other than that, it kind of does. It's a one-trick pony. Kind of does what it does, and I'm not a big fan of it, especially as an S tier. And maybe as an A tier, it's good, but S tier definitely I would not pick that. So the thing about this team is that it doesn't really have any like real wall breakers. It requires setup with things like Cloyster. Yeah, so Rotom Wash on it is here. I think is honestly his best Pokemon on his team. It gets Volt Switch momentum. It has a good typing. It can really defensive. It gets Will-O-Wisp. With Levitate, it's immune to the ground types. No defog this generation as it had before, but it does get the now Nasty Plot, and it can also, don't forget, it can Trick. So with the speed tier, this generation is really good. Nasty Plot setup is nice. And yeah, but so I think Rotom Wash is his best Pokemon here. And yeah, so Ditto here, I feel like it was a necessary on his team, because honestly his team seems like setup fodder with things like Torkoal and Shuckle and Eldegoss. I feel like Ditto being that fail safe that prevents the sweeps of setup, like a Dragon Dance sweep or a Nasty Plot, Calm Mind sweep or whatever. I feel like Ditto's a good fail safe here. So that kind of synergizes the team in my opinion. But one thing about his team though is that he has no psychic answers. As you can see, no resist to psychic, no ghost answers, no resist to ghost, no rock answers. I guess they're a Dugtrio, but so much is weak to rock. You got Charizard, Shuckle, Drifblim, Cloyster, Torkoal, a lot of things weak to rock. So, and then also Dragon. No fairy is gonna make his team really weak to Dragon. and no dark answers too. So he's got a lot of weaknesses. It's got some good synergy, but he's kind of like blindsided by a lot of things he's gonna be like getting hit with. He's not gonna be ready for. So one thing I do want to talk about is Drift Blim. I was kind of looking at it like, what does this thing do? But as I started looking into it, it actually gets Will-O-Wisp, Defog, Strength Sap, Haze, Destiny Bond, Baton Pass. It's kind of like a gimmicky Pokemon that can just do whatever you want it to do that week. But it's not going to be really threatening. I guess if he tries to run like a stockpile set, I don't know if people will be ready for that. But it could be a little... threatening with that. But yeah, like don't sleep on this team because it can be very kind of gimmicky and catch you off guard, but at the same time it has got a lot of holes, a lot of weaknesses, no priority, it's really slow, and overall I rated this team a C-. So yeah, it's kind of like not that great of a team, but you know, it does have synergy, so I'll give it that. Next, oh yeah, wait, before I move on, so the Pokemon I want to highlight on this team, I would probably have to say Ditto. So I don't know John that much as a coach, but I do know Ditto as a Pokemon, and it has been MVP in the past. Ditto is very threatening. It can be very underrated, and don't sleep on Ditto, because when you think you're about to win, Ditto comes in and then reverse sweeps you. So keep in mind not to try to set up on his team and thinking that like, oh, his team is pretty easy, I can just set up on this Shuckle, or I can just set up on this Drift Blim and sweep his team, but then there's Ditto in the back, so keep that in mind. Anyways, moving on. Reggie. So Reggie's team I like. You know, you got the Grimmsnarl, Rotom Heat, Lucario, Vaporeon, Noivern, Mudsdale, Galarian, Mr. Mime, Shiinotic, and Crustle. So, first off, anytime I see Vaporeon, I get mixed feelings. It's really good bulky. It's a really good, like, water type. It's water immune. And it gets Wish, Protect, but God, is it so passive? You know, it's going to be protecting and wishing, and that's pretty much what it does. It scalds, I guess. I don't think it can toxic, but you can't baton pass, and it has no heal bell, so it doesn't have good coverage. It's kind of like, but as you can see here, you know, it got 3 kills, so don't sleep on Vaporeon. It's really bulky, and it's if it comes down to like Vaporeon being one of his last Pokemon left, and you don't have any answers to it, it honestly can just stall your team out with Wish, Protect, Scald, and if you don't have recovery, if you don't have ways to deal with it, you're pretty much screwed. It's just like you have nothing to kill it. It's really bulky. So anyways, I just wanted to bring that out. But anyways, Rotom here is really good. It's better this generation with heavy duty boots and the speed tier and stuff like that. Like I said, it's just kind of like Rotom Wash that John has. Volt Switch, Will-O-Wisp, good fire switching. It gets Levitate, Nasty Plot, Tricks, Scarf Trick, you know, shenanigans. So Rotom Heat is good. Grimmsnarl is a good S tier Pokemon. I like Grimmsnarl, but I think it's an average S tier. It's kind of slow. It's not too strong, but I mean, if used right, it can definitely be threatening. I've faced a Grimmsnarl in the past, and in a draft league, like having to build for it, and it's really stressful to build for because it has so many options. It gets bulk, like Prankster. The fact that it has Prankster bulk up, Prankster rest. It's got a good mixed coverage. It gets kind of like recovery with rest that way, and rest, sleep, talk, bulk up. You know, if your team doesn't have a fairy answer, if your team doesn't have a dark answer, it's just gonna go through your team. So it gets, you know, I think it gets knockoff. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. That way I don't mislead you guys and thinking, oh, Grimmsnarl doesn't have knockoff. I can safely switch into. Yeah, it doesn't get knockoff, so that's good. It gets Drain Punch, Ice Punch, Leech Life, Power Whip, Shadow Claw. So it's got a really good coverage. Thunder Wave, Trick, Taunt. So that Prankster Taunt is good. Prankster Substitute is scary. So that Prankster ability is honestly what I'm mostly afraid of when I face a Grimmsnarl. Lucario here, I like Lucario. I've never really seen it used too much. And I haven't used it myself, but just looking at it, it's really good. It has really viable special set and a physical set, a mixed set, and it has priority for both. It has Bullet Punch for physical. I don't know if it gets extreme speed this generation. Let me just double check real quick. On my phone, I'm using my phone for the double check on the showdown. So yeah, it still gets extreme speed. So that's good, and it still gets Bullet Punch. It gets Vacuum Wave. I believe. Let me just double check for the special side. Yeah, Vacuum Wave for the special. It gets Calm Mind set. The thing about this Pokemon is that it gets really good setup options. So Calm Mind, Bulk Up, Swords Dance, Nasty Plot. It gets Dark Pulse. It gets Dragon Pulse. It gets Aura Sphere. Flash Cannon on the. These are all special on the special side. It gets Shadow Ball. So good special attacks, and then from the physical, it's got like Blaze Kick, Close Combat, Crunch, Drain Punch, Earthquake, High Jump Kick, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, Poison Jab for the Fairy. It has Meteor Mash and Steel type. So Meteor Mash. So still a great coverage. So don't sleep on Lucario. Noivern I like on this team because it adds speed, U-turn. And again, one thing about Noivern is that it gets that Trinity. So Noivern is a really good Pokemon this generation. U-turn, Defog, Roost. That's the Trinity I was talking about earlier. Defog's gonna be coming in handy. With how fast it is, it can get off that Defog. Heavy duty boots, I don't know if it'll run heavy duty boots that much, but the U-turn is going to be good. With the Frisk ability, it can check out for Scarfs. They can lead that Noivern lead. If you're going to be faster, U-turn out of there. It's got great coverage. Things like Flamethrower, Hurricane, Dark Pulse, Air Slash, Draco. Draco. It's got great speed. It's not too strong, so that's what makes it not that high of a tier. But I think it's honestly a really good value B tier pick here. And honestly, if one day I might try to get that as my Dragon type. Noivern's really good here. So I do want to give Reggie props for drafting Shiinotic. Shiinotic has been a fan favorite of mine. I've been drafting a lot in the past few years. Very underrated Pokemon in my opinion. So it gets things like Strength Sap, Leech Seed, and then it gets this great, pretty good special attack stat. So it gets Moonblast, Giga Drain. So it has a really good reliable recovery. It gets Synthesis as well. Spore too. So Spore is really key for Shiinotic. That 100% accurate sleep. And one thing though is that it doesn't have much answers for Steel types. And when I faced Steel types, I had to run a Sunny Day Weather Ball set. So when I faced like a Ferrothorn or Ferroseed, you're gonna have to keep in mind for that fire coverage for those Steel types. Yeah, and also be careful of those poison attack coverage moves like Poison Jab and Sludge Bomb and stuff like that, because that double poison weakness is gonna be crucial. Yeah, I really also like the Galarian Mr. Mime pick here. Spoiler alert, I drafted Mr. Rhyme. So when I was drafting Mr. Rhyme, Galarian Mr. Mime was still on the board. And I was really contemplating between Galarian Mr. Mime and Mr. Rhyme. And I actually decided with Mr. Rhyme. But, I was really tempted with Galarian because it gets Eviolite. Eviolite is, again, like I said before, really good this generation. Not a lot gets knockoff, so you can kind of be safe. And with that bulk, it can set up with Calm Mind, Nasty Plot, and actually Galarian Mr. Mime is faster than Mr. Rhyme. So base 100 speed for Mr. Mime is going to help it outspeed a lot. with the bulk, combined with the setup, it can actually be really scary. And with the access to rapid spin, it can get that +1 speed too. So it's basically going to outspeed your opponent's entire team, set up like one nasty plot, and then now it's a fucking threat to sweeping your opponent's team. So freeze dry helps it attack those water type Pokemon. It gets good coverage. You know, Psy Shock, it's a psychic type now, ice type, ice beam, and things like that. So be careful, Mr. Mime. Mudsdale, I'm not too much of a fan for this because I'm not really much of a fan for like primarily bulky type Pokemon that don't have reliable recovery, and Mudsdale doesn't have any reliable recovery. It comes in, it's not really bulky on the special side. It can be if you put like all your bulk in it, but I do like the fact that it's a ground type. It has good coverage. What else? You know, it's bulky. It's strong. It gets like heavy slam, earthquake, and things like that. But you know, it kind of just does one thing. It comes in, tanks hits back. But unless it's running rest, it's not going to be recovering that much. Its ability allows it to be a defensive wall, so that's good. But yeah, so Crustle down there. Crustle, I don't really kind of expect him to bring that much unless he sees that it can sweep. The Shell Smash set is really threatening. It gets sturdy. Stealth Rocks is good. So with Stealth Rocks lead. I don't know if you can see my screen dimmed a little there. Anyways, I don't know if you guys can see, well, not see, but so with the sturdy ability and Stealth Rocks, spikes, it can be a lead, and if it's not sturdy, it can be Focus Sash with weak armor. So little tricks in there, but I honestly expect it mostly to be Shell Smash and not really brought that many weeks. Yeah, so going through his team, actually, I like. I'm not too sure about the synergy of it. I feel like it's passive at times. It has Wish Pass support with Vaporeon. It has kind of good recovery, but I think it's weak to Fairy. You know, there's just Rotom Heat to resist. You know, Grimmsnarl's weak, Lucario's neutral, Noivern's weak. Everything else, I guess Crustle is okay, but yeah, it's really weak to kind of Fairy types. But other than that, it's a pretty good team. I like the team, and so I rated this an A-. Yep. So the highlight Pokemon, the X Factor Pokemon I want to pick on Reggie's team is Galarian Mr. Mime. Keep that one in mind. It's a really threatening, strong Pokemon. Next, we've got Jose. So Jose's a veteran in draft leagues. I've seen him around for a while now. But throughout the years, I feel like he's been at the bottom of the drafting rankings for a long time now. So, and this season is kind of really no different. At first, you see Excadrill, you see Hippowdon, and you're like looking like pretty good. But then you start going down the list. You got Chandelure, you're like, okay, Whimsicott, Jellicent's really good. I really like Jellicent. But then Aromatisse, Gallade is good, Manectric, Fracture, and you're just kind of like, okay. And then once you start looking at the synergy of it, I don't really see much of a synergy. You know, Sand is going to hurt a lot of his team. And it honestly just benefits Hippowdon Excadrill. It just seems like he's got Hippowdon Excadrill as one part, and then the rest of his team is just like there to fill the places so that Hippowdon Excadrill can win. Excadrill kind of fills all of his like main roles. Honestly, it's a top tier S tier pick, one of the best S tier picks, probably what I would have picked if I didn't get what I planned. But it's his only spinner. It's one of only two that sets Stealth Rock, and it's his only real like fairy answer. Yeah, so it kind of does a lot of things for his team. So as long as you're just like prepped for Excadrill, it seems like not much of his team's gonna beat you. You know, I've faced Jellicent in the past though, so Jellicent can be annoying to take down with Strength Sap or Recovery, and it's really bulky. Gets Will-O-Wisp, Hex, Scald. So keep that in mind about Jellicent. But yeah, Hippowdon's a good bulky ground type. I like Hippowdon. I've drafted it before. It's really bulky, gets reliable recovery. Earthquake, sets the sand. Stealth Rocks ability, has the ability to set Stealth Rocks. And it gets Roar. I really like the fact that it gets Roar because it's a sound-based move that can go through subs, and it basically stops your opponent from setting up. And with how bulky Hippowdon is, it's going to stop a lot of sweeps with Roar. I mean, not that, you know, Jose will be stopping a lot of sweeps. I'm just saying that it has the capacity to do that. Chandelures are alright Pokemon here. It's a spin blocker, so that's good for this generation. It's really strong, really strong. And it's kind of on the slow-ish side. I wish it was faster. It would be like a top tier pick if it was faster, but good coverage, Energy Ball, Shadow Ball, Flamethrower. It's kind of really much kind of all it needs. And yeah, so Whimsicott is an odd pick here. I'm not a fan of the Whimsicott pick here. It's kind of like his only fast Pokemon besides Manectric. It gets U-Turn, Prankster. It's the ground resist, and it's a fairy type, but it's a little underwhelming in my experience, and it kind of just fills the grass fairy role. I mean, he has Aromatisse already, so you know. So another thing that so like I was talking about, so Manectric here is another fast Pokemon on his team besides Whimsicott. Manectric, I really like the Manectric pick. I was looking at it, and base 105 is good. Base 105 special attack is good. It's got good coverage, Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, but well, I wouldn't say good coverage because that's all it kind of gets. It has no Hidden Power Ice this generation, so a lot of Pokemon can switch into it, like Dragon types, Ground types, and stuff like that. But I like the fact that it had speed, Volt Switch, the strength of it, and Volt. I think it gets Volt Absorb. Yeah, Volt Absorb, or no, Lightning Rod. So it's a electric immunity, so that's good. Fracture, I don't know what's going on here with the Fracture pick. I guess he needed a Dragon type and thought, you know, looked at the attack stat and was like, you know, Dragon Dance, why not? You know, but other than that, it's really weak defensively. It's really slow. It has good coverage because, I mean, basically it's a mini Haxorus, but one of the main weaknesses of Haxorus is the lack of speed. Besides that, Haxorus would be destroying teams. Not that it already does it. You know, Haxorus destroys team as it already does. With one Dragon Dance, it can just, you know, destroy teams. But, you know, with it being under base 100, you can scarf a base 100 Pokemon and revenge it kind of easily. Well, I wouldn't say kind of easily, but anyways. Fracture here, though. I don't know what's going on with the Fracture pick. Aromatisse, I'm not a big fan of the Aromatisse pick either. It kind of reminds me of like Vaporeon or Slurpuff or all those other Wish Passers that are like mid bulky. The thing about Aromatisse though is that it is a cleric, so it does get aromatherapy. It's a fairy type. It's more about support. It gets Calm Mind, so keep that in mind. But it's really passive in my opinion. Not much coverage. I guess it gets Shadow Ball, stuff like that. But you know, Aromatisse, not a big fan of personally. Yeah, so looking at this team, I don't see much of a synergy. I just kind of see Excadrill, Hippowdon being like the main threats on his team, and the rest is kind of like a whole different team. I like the fact that it's Sand, but his team is really weak to a lot of kind of things. Like he's weak to ice, you know, minus Jellicent, Chandelure. It's weak to ground. It has no immunities, no real resistances besides Whimsicott, and then weak to Psychic. No dark types, just Excadrill, the steel type to switch in, and it's weak to Ghost. No dark types, like I said. Weak to Ghost, Psychic, Ground, Ice. A lot of weak to a lot of things. Yeah, not that much priority either. I don't think there's much priority besides Gallade's Shadow Sneak and Whimsicott being Prankster. So overall, I gave this team a solid B, borderlining a B plus, but yeah, just a solid B. Looking at it. So next we have yours truly. It's your boy Scott. Let me go through here. So, one thing off the back I want to start by saying is I have no fire type, so that was a conscious decision. I knew I didn't have a fire type, and I'm okay with that because I feel like I don't really need a fire type. And mostly I was kind of going for a main theme here, you know, kind of like a hazard stacking team, making sure hazards stay on the team, on the field, and benefiting from the hazards and kind of sweeping that way. So I've got double sticky webs here with Rabombi, Araquanid, one. So with one, I don't have to have stick webs for the other. So let's say I don't want to keep sticky webs with Rabombi, I can bring Araquanid and that can have sticky webs. Araquanid is a good pick in my opinion because it's a bulky water type. The defensive stats are really high. It has low HP, but with the water bubble ability, it makes it resistance to fire. So that resistance to fire is going to be pretty good, but it's slow, so no recovery too. So it's not a great bulky water type because of the lack of recovery, but it does get rest. So keep that. I mean, a lot of things get rest, so that's fine. But yeah, starting off, you know, I got Hydreigon. Next, I got Corsola, Rabombi, Voltund, like I said, Araquanid, Steelix, Mr. Rhyme, Roselia, Passimian. So Hydreigon, one of the top S tier picks this generation, you know, with the addition of Dragon Dance. It makes it a physical threat. Nasty Plot, substitute Nasty Plot can, you know, sweep a lot of teams with sub. But one thing I do want to, I feel like I gotta harp on Hydreigon is the fact that it lost Roost this generation and it lost Defog. So it's not going to be able to be that bulky defensive type that I used to love. But yeah, it still gets U-turn, has great coverage, you know, levitate. It's kind of bulky, so it can switch into some moves and then, you know, hit back. But I like its typing. The ground immunity, dark typing is going to be good for ghost types, psychic types, and stuff like that. So next we got Galarian Corsola, in my opinion, the best A tier pick in the draft. Honestly, it should be an S tier because Galarian Corsola is so hard to break. It has recovery with Strength Sap. But that's not too reliable because some things don't have a lot of attack. It could be a special attacker, and it won't recover a lot of health. It's a really great spin blocker. And oh yeah, with like I said, it's in a well, not like I said, but with Eviolite, it makes it really bulky and really hard to break. Like I said before, spin blocker. It's got actually pretty good coverage. I'm gonna look through the coverage bank over here, but I was actually really surprised with how much coverage it gets. It gets things like Ice Beam, Giga Drain. So let me go through it. So it's got Earth Power, Giga Drain, Hex, Ice Beam, Power Gem, Psychic, Scald, Shadow Ball, and yeah, so a Surf. But yeah, so one thing I like about it is that it gets Will-O-Wisp. So Will-O-Wisp is really good. Hex is good for my team because I got, you know, Will-O-Wisp and then Toxic Spikes. It gets Haze, so it can phase those setup sweepers. Destiny Bond is good if I know I'm gonna die. Destiny Bond, I can Calm Mind, Strength Sap, Disable. You know, just it's gonna be a really annoying Pokemon. Gonna be like hard to break in my opinion. Next, I got Rabombi. This adds a lot of speed to my team. Quiver Dance setup threat. That's really key. Again, like I said before, sticky webs. It gets U-turn. U-turn could be pretty useful depending if you want to get that momentum. It's a fairy type, so fairy types are always good, especially a fast fairy type. A lot of teams are just straight up weak to Fairy, and this can just sweep teams. One downside to this Pokemon though is that it gets no fire type attack, so steel types kind of just be able to switch in easily. Yeah, so that's unfortunate. Next, I got Boltund, another fast Pokemon. I like having that fast Pokemon to be able to revenge. Great coverage in my opinion. With even attack stats and special attack stat, it can be mixed. It gets Volt Switch and Fire Fang. I think it gets Psychic Fangs too. So with the strong jaw, it allows the biting type attacks like Crunch, Fire Fang, Psychic Fangs to do lots of damage. Like I said, it gets Volt Switch. Play Rough is good coverage for physical. Flame Charge for that up on speed. So Discharge can help it. So it gets bulk up, so it does get a little bit of setup option. But other than Volt Switch and Discharge and T-Bolt, whatever, it doesn't have much special attacks. So it's mostly going to be physical, but that strong jaw really helps it, that speed. Competitive abilities, not too bad either, but you know, gonna want to be getting that extra boost in attack with strong jaw. So next I already talked about Rocketmanid, so Steelix. So Steelix is a really underrated Pokemon in my opinion. Really bulky, especially on the defensive side. So it's not going to be, you don't have to put a lot of EVs in the defensive side. You can invest a lot more into special defense. Stealth Rock option. It gets the body press, so it's going to be doing a lot of damage with the fighting type. So it helps it deal with steel types that want to come in. This generation actually gets Dragon Dance. I like the addition of Dragon Dance because it actually makes it much more of a threat than it was before. I do like the gimmicky Life Orb Sheer Force set. It gets great coverage to use that. So with Life Orb, Sheer Force, Dragon Dance, don't sleep on this sweeping teams, you know. It gets Fire Fang, Crunch, you know, Earthquake, Iron Head. Iron Head is going to be big for that. It does get Taunt, so it can help with that. It gets, like I said, Stealth Rocks, Psychic Fangs, that's good coverage. Ice Fangs, that's good coverage. Gyro Ball, Heavy Slam are going to be huge steel type heavy hitters, depending on the Pokemon. But yeah, so really like Steelix typing here. Allows for that electric immunity. The ground type, steel type is good. Yeah, and so after that, next I got Mr. Rhyme. I talked about Mr. Rhyme a little earlier with I think it was Jose's team, no, Reggie's team. Did I do? You know what? I didn't do a highlight Pokemon for Jose's team, so let me just do that real quick. Sorry, this is all jumbled out of order. I keep messing up with the highlight Pokemon, but anyways, I want to highlight in this team. I would say if you can use it right, I feel like Chandelure can put in the work. Anyways, so like I said, so Reggie has the Galarian Mr. Mime. I have the Mr. Rhyme. So Mr. Rhyme is a little different than Galarian Mr. Mime in that it's stronger and has much more HP. Let me see. So instead of base 50, it has base 80 HP, more defense, but you know, with the Eviolite, it's gonna help out Mr. Mime a little more, but 20 more special attack. So it did lose speed, so base 70 is not gonna be, you know, too good, but yeah, so it does get an increase in attack to 85, so that helps out Ice Shard and stuff like that. But Mr. Rhyme, it does get the screen cleaner. I like the screen cleaner. A lot of Pokemon get that reflect and light screen and can start setting up, and I can just come in and break that. But yeah, Calm Mind, Nasty Plot, Dazzling Gleam, Energy Ball, Focus Blast, Freeze Dry, Grass Knot, Ice Beam, Psychic, Psychic Shock, Shadow Ball. It does get Slack off recovery, so that's not too bad. Sucker Punch for that priority. Thunderbolt. So it has a really good coverage. I like that. Ice types are always good offensively, so you know it is my only spinner though. That's a one downside. One of the downsides to my team, I would say, is that I only have one hazard removal, but because of the fact I'm going to be setting a lot of hazards on my opponent's side of the team too, or at least I'm going to try, then he's going to either want to have to spin that away or defog it away. And that leads me, I'm going to skip Roselia, save it for last, and go to Passimian here. So Passimian here really benefits from the sticky webs. I really wanted Passimian on my team. You know, a little thing happened between Charles and I. As you get the Charles is the next coach, and he ended up actually having to draft Passimian. I tried really hard to get Passimian, and I started helping him out with his team and trying to help him find replacements, because I did notice that Charles's team didn't have much hazard removal. So I tried to tell him, you know, maybe he can give me Passimian. Maybe he can pick up like one of the Hitmons, like Hitmontop, Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee. They get rapid spin, so that's good. But I really wanted Passimian because it gets U-turn, it gets knockoff, and with sticky webs, it's actually going to be very strong, very threatening, and it actually has really great coverage. I like Passimian's coverage. It gets Seed Bomb for those pesky, bulky water types. It gets Drain Punch, Earthquake. It gets Bulk Up, Setup. It gets Acrobatics, Iron Head, Gunk Shot. Like I said, U-turn. So all that is basically all what it needs. And I really like the Defiant ability. So Defiant allows, so I can switch in on a defog. And if he tries to defog sticky webs away or defog some rocks away, then Passimian can get that boost and, you know, start putting dents into teams. I like the base 100 HP. It's gonna allow it to just naturally live some hits and be able to switch in and start putting in work. Anyways, last but not least, I have Roselia here. I've drafted Roselia in the past before, and I was actually really surprised when I used it. So back in the day, way day, I think when I won my first tournament. No, it wasn't. I didn't win. But I did trade for Roselia, and I liked Roselia. The addition of Eviolite, like I said, Eviolite got better this generation, and it gets reliable recovery. It's a good special wall. The typing is great. Good fairy answer, good water type answer, good grass type answer, good electric type answer, good fighting type answer sometimes. But yeah, so it gets aromatherapy. It's natural cure, so that allows me to switch in on incoming paralysis, like thunder waves, incoming toxics I think are gonna happen, incoming burns. It just absorbs all my statuses and then switches out that way. But it also gets aromatherapy, so it helps that. It gets toxic spikes and spikes, helps me set hazards. Like I said before, reliable recovery, good coverage. It gets Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, Shadow Ball, stuff like that. I think it gets Dazzling Gleam too, but one weakness about it is that it has no fire attack coverage, so steel types can come in on it pretty easily. Yeah, so my team kind of overall, it lacks a little bit of priority with just Mr. Rhyme being there, and then lacks the hazard removal of Mr. Rhyme, but I do have lots of speed, lots of synergy, lots of coverage, and I think it's a pretty good team, so I can hazard stack, but you know, I got a lot of things covered. My knockoff, momentum, U-turn, volt switch, setup, bulk, recovery, all that. So overall, I gave my team a solid A as well, solid top, an A grade, and yeah, we're at the second half, guys. So next, I've got Charles. Let me talk about Charles' team here. So Charles, I got here. So hazards is a good on his team. So looking at his team, he's got Komodo, Mimikyu, Weavile, Silvally, Espeon, Quagsire, Vikavolt, Ferroseed, and Turtonator. So Ferroseed can set Stealth Rock, Spikes, stuff like that with the Eviolite. Again, a lot of Pokemon being good with Eviolite. Ferroseed is actually really bulky, hard to break. especially if it can keep the Violet, and it can set hazards, it can set Leech Seed. It actually gets access to knockoff, so it can start knocking off items, and actually can be, you know, an underrated threat. Oh, again, I forgot. I gotta do the X Factor Pokemon over here. So X Factor Pokemon, I think is gonna be putting in lots of work on my team is Passimian. So keep eye out for Passimian, and yeah. So anyways, back to Charles's team. So talking about Ferroseed, I think it's gonna be a underrated Pokemon here, and sets hazards. So Vikavolt also has the ability to set hazards in sticky webs, and so don't sleep on that. But I think other than that, it doesn't. Komodo can set stealth rocks, so that's good. But yeah, double dragon on this team. Turtonator and Komodo. Turtonator being able to shell smash. I've never seen Turtonator being too threatening. I don't know if it got any kind of boost this generation with like a coverage attack or anything. I know it did get rapid spin, so that's really good. It boosts the speed. It's actually his only hazard removal. He does have Espeon to bounce it back, but other than that, Turtonator is his only way of removing hazards. And yeah, so Turtonator being really slow though. Komodo is really bulky, gets set up with Dragon Dance. It can be physical, special. Like I said, great bulk, decent speed, good coverage. One of the better Pokemon's. S tier, yeah, it's S tier. It's good. Don't sleep on it. It gets bulk, and then I love its abilities. It gets soundproof and bulletproof. So bulletproof allows it to survive things like Sludge Bomb, Shadow Ball, stuff like that. And then soundproof lets it, you know, not be hit by sound moves. So fun fact, I faced Charles week 1, and as you can see, his record is 0-1. And I actually won with a Bug Buzz Ribombee sweep. You know, I was choiced at the time, and I thought I had it lost, but alas, Komodo could not take down Ribombee, and I was able to defeat it with Bug Buzz. But fun fact, like I said, if Komodo was soundproof, I don't think Bug Buzz was going to be able to affect it. So it would have been immune, it would have taken me down, and he would have won. So he must have had the wrong ability. Maybe bulletproof for the sludge bombs and the bombs and the balls and stuff like that. But yeah, I like Komodo's ability. So keep that in mind. Don't sleep on Komodo's abilities. Next, we've got Mimikyu. Mimikyu is a very, very threatening Pokemon on his team. It's set up, and with the disguise ability, it gets like one sub. It gets basically a free sub. Starting off, it can set up Swords Dance and start sweeping with Shadow Sneak, or if it's already faster, it has decent speed. I think it's like in the 90s, base 96. Outspeeds a lot of Pokemon. So, and that Fairy coverage is always going to be good. A lot of teams kind of weak to Fairy, and with Swords Dance helping it set up, it's going to just start punching holes in teams. The fact that he gets priority is really big on his team because nothing else gets priority besides Weavile, and Weavile I'll talk about a little bit later, but yeah, so it's a spin blocker as well, so that's really good. Yeah, so next let's talk about Weavile. So Weavile is honestly like one of the fastest Pokemon on it is the fastest Pokemon on his team, next to Espeon, which is base 110, I believe, Weavile being base 125. Weavile did get get nerfed this generation. No knockoff, no pursuit. So one of the best things that about Weavile was the fact that it got knockoff. It can just spam that stab knockoff, that, you know, that same type ability bonus. It can just, you know, punch holes, and it does get priority, so that's good. It's a strong Ice Shard. It's got a great attack stat, so it's going to be strong Ice Shard with that stab boost. But again, no knockoff, no pursuit. So not that great coverage. It does get poison jab. It does get low sweep. But other than that, you know, it's just fast and priority. And it's a good dark type. Good Revenger. But yeah, so Silvally we got here. So It's kind of subpar in my opinion. No defog this generation, but it does get parting shot, so that's useful. Was very useful. If you guys can catch my last video, my last battle versus Charles, you can see how he utilized parting shot to put him in beneficial situations for himself. But it doesn't get recovery. It's kind of bulky, but it's everything is less than base 100. But the base 95 HP really helps that out. So it's not too strong, and it can be any type. I like the flying type that Charles chose week 1 versus me. Flying type is great. Has good resistances, good immunities, and good offensive pressure. Yeah, great coverage. It gets fire coverage. It gets ice coverage, I believe, like thunder coverage. It could be physical or special. So Savali's tricky, but a little on the average side, in my opinion. Next, we got Espeon. Espeon here is fast, so that's probably the biggest attribute for Espeon is the fact that it's fast. It's really strong too, but it doesn't have too much coverage. Just mostly Size Shock, Psychic, and Ghost moves. I think it does get a Grass type move. But other than that, it has the ability to set screens, so that's great. Magic Bounce helps it come in on toxic spikes and stuff like that. It does get Dazzling Gleam, Grass Knot, but yeah, it's just Psychic and Shadow Ball mostly. It can trick if it's a choice specs Pokemon, and it can trick that away. It does get Wish, but it doesn't have a lot of base HP. But yeah, Morning Sun, it can be bulky, a little bit of recovery. But yeah, it's mostly gonna be a special attacking, fast Revenger. So next we got Quagsire. Quagsire here again, another Pokemon that if he had the different ability versus me week 1, he might have been able to not lose. So it does get Unaware. So Unaware is a really great ability to have in Draft League because it doesn't allow your opponent to set up like Dragon Dances or Nasty Plots or Calm Minds or Swords Dances or stuff like that. But its other ability also allows it to be immune to water type moves. So it's gonna be that Dracovish answer, for basically. So good recovery, really good HP stat. Bulky, gets Scald, gets Earthquake. It can be physical, special. It's not really much of a threat offensively. It's more of a stally type Pokemon. Gets Toxic, Recovery, and kind of just beats it that way. It can get Stockpile and start stockpiling up and stuff like that. But yeah, so Vigavolt here next. Like I said before, gets Sticky Webs. It's a great special attacker. Not really fast. It does get agility, but without the Z moves from last generation, it's got some answers that can check this thing. So Vigavolt is very threatening though. Levitate, ground immunity, that's good. Bug type move, bug type as well, so it gets bug coverage, and yeah. So looking at his team, I see Espeon, I see Quagsire, I see Silvally, Weavile. Like, it all looks good, but I don't see lots of like roles met here. Like, where's the special defensive answer? I guess you can say Feral Seed, but he only has one spinner, limited walls, has some recovery. It's weak to hazards. It's kind of there. It's weak to ice and ground and flying. But is it like a hyper offensive team? You got Weavile there, you got Espeon there. But then you got things like Quagsire, it's gonna lose you momentum. You got Pharisee, it's gonna lose momentum. I don't even know what Turtonair is gonna do. Silvally helps with the momentum, but then you got threats up there at the top, Komodo, Mimikyu, that help, bring the team up. So overall, I gave this team a B+. Yeah, solid B+. So the X Factor Pokemon, the Pokemon I want to highlight on this team is Mimikyu. So watch out for that Mimikyu. Mimikyu is going to be setting up. Fairy type, a lot of teams weak to fairies. So, yeah. Next up, we got Ryan, my boy Ryan. I'm super veteran in leagues. Been in more Pokemon draft leagues than any other person I know of. He's got a shit ton of experience. Great at drafting. Always one of the best players in draft leagues. Makes playoffs, more than half of the times. Above average of the times. And yeah, so this season I don't think will be any different. He drafted a very, very good team. You got, let me just read it off. So you got Hatrine, Mamoswine, Salazzle, Caparaja, Mandibuzz, Beware, Gourgeist, Lantern, and Drampa. So, looking at his team, it's a very slow team. Very, very slow. You got basically Salazzle there. And then maybe Mamoswine. Mamoswine's mid, but it looks to be a Trick Room heavy team, but not a lot of Trick Roomers. I think it's just Hatterene. So, that's one of the knocks I do have to give to this team is the fact that it's slow and it only has one Trick Roomer. If it had multiple Trick Roomers, I could see it being a lot more threatening. But Hatterene is a good Pokemon here, though. So it gets Trick Room. It's really, really, really strong. It's bulky. It's really bulky. Has great coverage, great typing. Gets Calm Mind. I like Hatterene. It's a great S tier pick on the slow side, but again, with Trick Room, it can be the fastest Pokemon on the field at the moment and start punching holes. Great wall breaker, great setup sweeper, and keep that one in mind. So next, I got Mamoswine. Mamoswine is one of the best A tier picks in my opinion. One of the best Pokemons in Draft League. Period. It has the best offensive typing with ground and ice. Not much can deal with this besides Corviknight and Rotom Wash. But even then, it could, mostly just Corviknight. But Mamoswine does get access to Stealth Rock. It gets Ice Shard priority. No knockoff this generation. So one of those Pokemon that suffered from losing knockoff. But that helps it be more decisive in what moves it can pick, because before it suffered from the 4 move slot syndrome, but it can mainly just run Ice Shard, Icicle Crash, Earthquake, and then Stealth Rocks or Rock Slide or Super Power, depending on the coverage it needs that week. Next we got Salazzle. So Salazzle is the only speed on his team. It's his fairy answer besides Caparaja, and it can set Stealth T-Spikes. It can toxic any Pokemon. It's really fast, nasty plot option. So I like the speed on Salazzle. I like the special attack on it. I like what it does, but again, it's kind of like a one trick kind of, well, not one trick, 2 trick kind of thing. The whole sub toxic shenanigans that it can pull. Sub toxic disable, so it can disable. Other than that, it's just mostly just going to be a special attacker. Flamethrower, Sludge Bomb, Dragon Pulse, Nasty Plot, things like that. Substitute. So, yeah. Next, we got Caparaja. I like Caparaja. Really bulky, steel type. Bulky all around. Let me just check the stats real quick on my phone. Caparaja. So, Sheer Force is going to help it be stronger. So, base 122 HP makes it super bulky. Not good defenses stats, honestly. 69 on both. So it's not more defensive on defense or special defense overall, but with that HP stat, it's going to be tanking lots of hits. It has a lot of attack stats, so it's basically a tank, kind of like a better Mudsdale in my opinion. Great coverage, so things like Brick Break, Earthquake, Heavy Slam, Iron Head, Play Rough, Power Whip. So that's going to be key. It gets Stealth Rock, so it can set that Stealth Rocks up. Super Power, Taunt, and Stone Edge, Zen Headbutt. So, yeah, it's basically going to be doing one thing. It's going to be bulky, switching into things, and then hitting back really hard, setting Stealth Rocks, and just being bulky. So next we got Mandibuzz, one of the top B tier picks in my opinion. Super good pick here. I think again this one gets the Trinity, U-turn, Defog, Roost. Yep. Whirlwind is good, Taunt is good, Tailwind is good. It actually also still gets Knockoff, so Knockoff is huge. So it's honestly one of the best bulky Pokemon in the league. Dark types are huge this generation because of the Ghost spam, and it actually has. Don't count out the Nasty Plot set. The Nasty Plot Heat Wave, Shadow Ball, Dark Pulse, Air Slash set. I once almost pulled it off, but yeah. So I think actually Ryan was able to pull it off his week 1. So if you guys check that video, check that battle out. I'm trying to think how could I send that link. So if you guys are interested in seeing that battle, just comment down below in the video and I can send you the replay link to that, how he was able to pull off the Nasty Plot Mandibuzz set. So that's good. But next we got Beware. Beware here, I like Beware, but it's really slow, not recovery, easily revenged, but it's really strong. Great coverage, things like Ice Punch, Drain Punch, just like Return, Darkest Lariat, Earthquake. It kind of reminds me of Caparaja without the hazards. Just kind of, it does have Fluffy, so it's more defensive, more bulky on the defensive side. So you can run Assault Vest, Fluffy, so it's gonna be really bulky, lots of HP, but again, not much speed. And if it had more Trick Room users, then this one would be a beast. It gets Swords Dance, so it can set up. I don't think it gets. Does it get? Let me check if it gets Sucker Punch. I think it does. So it does have that priority. Let me see. No Sucker Punch. So I don't think it gets any priority. So that is a big loss. It gets Iron Head coverage for those fairy types. So keep that in mind. Thunder Punch. Yeah, so this generation it gets Close Combat. I don't think it got Close Combat before. Or probably. Can't remember. But yeah, Superpower and Close Combat. Drain Punch. Things like that. Next we got Gourgeist. I like Gourgeist as a pick. Really bulky. Reliable recovery. Will-O-Wisp. Ghost type. Spin blocker. Good coverage, Leech Seed, and stuff like that. So that's pretty much all I gotta say about Gourgeist. I really like it. Lots of HP, pretty bulky, defensive. Grass type is good. Ghost type is good. It gets Shadow Sneak priority. Will-O-Wisp, I've said all I can. Synthesis, said all of it. Really like that pick. Lantern here, underrated pick. Double immunity with water immunity, electric immunity. It gets Volt Switch. It has good coverage, Ice Beam, Scald, Volt Switch. I even think it gets some other kind of coverage. Sorry guys, I'm getting like a tickle in my throat. If you hear me coughing, forgive me. Oh wait, no water absorb this generation. That's the hidden ability. So that's really big to know. So it's not gonna be having a water absorb. It's gonna be having Volt Absorb. If anything, it gets Dazzling Gleam, so that's good coverage. Ice Beam, Hydro Pump, Surf, T-Bolt, stuff like that. Yeah, so Thunder Wave. No Heal Bell this generation, so that's kind of sucks. It used to be like a good cleric. Icy Wind, not bad. But other than that, yeah, it's gonna be mainly like a Volt Switcher with coverage, Assault Vest. And then last we have Drampa. So I've drafted Drampa before, but in my experience, Drampa is only drafted when you just need to fill a role, you know what I mean? So Drampa being the dragon type on his team. It does get Calm Mind set up. It does get no other kind of setup. So it has great coverage. T-Bolt, Surf, Shadow Ball, Ice Beam, Heat Wave, Grass Knot, Focus Blast, Flamethrower, Extra Sensory, Energy Ball, Dragon Pulse and all that stuff, and Hyper Voice. So again, great coverage, but really slow. Base 36, so a lot of it's gonna outspeed it. It has decent bulk, but I don't know. A lot of special attack, so it can dent teams, but it's not gonna be recovering too much. I don't think it has reliable recovery. It does not look like it. It does get Dragon Dance this generation, but its attack stat is negligible. So yeah, don't worry about that. And yeah, that's the team. I like the team. Mandibuzz is a great pick. Gorgeist is a great pick. Mamoswine, Hatterene, Caparaja. Overall, it's all great team. Some cons to the team is the fact that it's really slow and it only has one spinner in who's the spinner? Wait, no. Is it spinner? Who's the spinner? I don't think he has a spinner. Just Mandibuzz for defog. Yeah, it's just Mandibuzz. And it does get hazards with Mamoswine, Caparaja, Salazzle, things like that. But yeah, I do want to give this grade. It has limited recovery, but great symmetry. So do want to give this team an A grading. Solid A. Great team. Good threats. Got me punching in holes. Yeah. So wait. Before I forget, highlight X Factor Pokemon. Sorry, guys. So I'm gonna be picking Mandibuzz is too obvious. I want to pick Gorgeist. I really like Gorgeist here. Yeah. So next we got Martin here. Martin, I think, got the first overall pick in the draft and drafted Corviknight. Great S tier pick, probably the best Pokemon in draft right now. Great defensive bulk, reliable recovery. It's got the Trinity, U-turn, Defog, Roost. Great defensive typing, Steel, Flying with Skarmory, and it's honestly really scary as a setup too. So it gets bulk up. If it has decent special defense, more than Skarmory, so it's bulkier on the special defensive side than Skarmory, and it can start setting up bulk ups. And then with what is it got? It's got some good offensive moves too. Mirror Armor is good, so you can't lower its stats, and Pressure helps it stall out. So it's got Body Press, that's going to be big. Brave Birds, like I said, bulk up. Heavy Slam, Iron Head, that's good. And U-turn, so it doesn't have good coverage, but it got that setup. And Roost, it has screens, light screen, reflect, all that shenanigans. And but yeah, mostly gonna be defensive, Roost, Defog, U-turn, and gonna be really hard to kill. Next you got Dracozolt. Dracozolt is a really top tier A tier pick. It's kind of like Dracovish in that it gets that bolt beak, but a lot of things resist electricity than water. You even got ground immunities, volt absorb, and stuff like that. So with the added ability of hustle, it's gonna be missing some of those key attacks that you really wish it hit, and it's gonna probably cost some games. So that's one negative I do have about Dracozolt. That hustle ability has a risk factor to it. So let me go to my notes here on Martin. So Dracozolt being a great wall breaker, it's got a good typing. I like it. It doesn't even have to be hustle every game. It can be volt absorb, so it can be a good bulky switch in with dragon typing. It can switch into fire type moves. It can switch into grass type moves, water type moves. electric type moves. You know, it's immune to that, so it'll absorb that. So it's basically another ground type. It's slow though, but it's mostly gonna be scarfed most weeks. He doesn't have a sticky webber to help benefit that, so yeah, it's gonna be slow or a scarf. He's got all kinds of hazards. Um, he doesn't have sticky webs, right? No. He's got all kinds of hazards though. He's got Seismitoad with Stealth Rocks. He's got Stealth Rocks. I think it's Stealth Rocks with Colossal. He's got Spikes and T-Spikes with Garbodor. And he's got Rapid Spin with Colossal and Delmise. So that's good. Defog with Corviknight. So he's got hazards. Hazard control. It's a well-rounded team. You know, next we got Seismitoad. Seismitoad is a great B tier pick. Water immune, great water Pokemon, Stealth Rock. Like I said, it's really diverse. It can be mixed, can be like have poison coverage, it can have grass coverage, it can have water coverage, ground coverage, fighting coverage, lots of different coverages. Only downside to it is that no reliable recovery. So that's gonna be, you know, really unfortunate. But that water immunity, the electric immunity, and stuff like that is gonna help it come in on those kinds of things. Delmise here, I like Delmise. It's slow, but it's a spin blocker. It's really bulky. It's got 3 stabs, you know, with the anchor or the fact that it gets a steel stab. Let me see. Delmise. What's the ability? Steel Worker. So Steel Worker lets it get steel types. So Anchor Shot is gonna be doing damage. Heavy Slam, Gyro Ball, Iron Head. Those things are gonna be doing stab damage, lots of damage. And yeah, so it gets Rapid Spin itself, so it can actually start, you know, speeding up and start putting in the work, outspeed things that it normally wouldn't. Get Swords Dance set up, good coverage, like I said. It gets Liquidation, Steel types. It gets Power Whip, Rock Slide, Shadow Claw, Earthquake, Body Press. So don't sleep on Delmise. The only downside is that it's slow, so it can be Revenge. Yeah, so Gardevoir here. I like the Gardevoir pick here. Base 80 speed is gonna let it outspeed some good walls, and then it can dent walls. With the Trace trick, it can trick Pokemon that are gonna be coming in to try to stop it, like things like a Ferrothorn, Ferroseed, or like a Steel type, a bulky type Pokemon. Like usually Steel types are what's gonna switch into it. Because they resist both stabs, Psychic and Fairy. And has great coverage though. So Thunderbolt, Energy Ball, Shadow Ball, Moonblast. So it's gonna be hitting a lot. I like the typing Psychic, Fairy. So yeah, I like the ability to Trace, Synchronize. So Colossal here is a great pick. Underrated in my opinion. Really bulky, and abilities are unique. Let's see how his abilities actually really work, in case, so that you guys can take that in consideration. So Flash Fire, it's gonna be immune to fire types, so it's the fire switch in. Flame Body if it wants to burn you, and then the Steam Engine, so its speed will be raised to the max. It'll outspeed probably your opponent's entire team, your whole team, if it gets hit by a fire type attack or a water type attack. So if it can predict that, well, water type attack is going to be 4 times super effective, so it's got to be careful about switching to that. But fire type, that can be kind of easy to switch into, especially because he got Corviknight there and Delmise there and stuff like that. So, you know, keep that in mind. It gets Rapid Spin, so I like the fact that it gets Stealth Rocks and Rapid Spin. It can come in, spin away hazards, then set its own hazards, and then bounce the fuck out. But yeah, Colossal, great Pokemon here. It's actually really strong too. Well, not really strong, but averagely strong at base 80. But that base 110 HP and then base 120 defense and base 90 special defense, super bulky, guys. Great coverage with Earthquake, Body Press, Flame Charge. It can be mixed, it can be special, it can be physical. It gets Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Flare Blitz, Gyro Ball, Heat Wave, Heavy Slam, Iron Head, Rock Blast, Rock Slide. It gets Scald too, actually. So for those ground types or whatever, it gets Will-O-Wisp. So don't sleep on this Pokemon. Did I do? Yeah, I did Gorgas for that one. So, anyways, next we got Scrafty. Scrafty is one of my fan favorites, just like Shiinotic. I've drafted Scrafty in the past before. Love Scrafty, but with the where I am in my draft league right now, I'm kind of ready to move on to other things, try out other things. I've used Scrafty a lot, but I know damn well how good Scrafty is. That Dragon Dance Shed Skin set. A lot of people honestly don't run the Shedskin set. I think Shedskin is its best ability, but I've seen a lot of coaches actually run the Intimidate set. So they come in, intimidate, and try to set up that way. That's not how you go about doing it, because you can honestly cripple Scrafty with like a Toxic or a Burn if it doesn't have Shedskin. But honestly, I like putting Shedskin on and then Dragon Dance, and then just start Dragon Dancing away. And then if they try to burn you, then it'll just eventually go away. If they try to Toxic you, it'll eventually go away. And then you just got that coverage. You can run Rest. That way you can shed the rest, the sleep. You just rest up after a while, and then maybe a couple turns go by, and then you're awake. And then you can Drain Punch, get that HP back. Does it get knocked off? Hopefully it gets knocked off. No knockoff. So that kind of sucks this generation. So it gets Throat Chop, I guess. So that's gonna be Crunch. Crunch is the move, or Throat Chop. So Throat Chop is helpful if you're gonna be like versus something that's gonna do like a pixelated hyper voice or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, so it's got Bulk Up too. Bulk Up is a good option. It could be special defensive Bulk Up, Drain Punch that way. Close combat, it's got But yeah, the loss of knockoff is big. But it does get Ice Punch coverage, Thunder Punch coverage, Stone Edge coverage, Poison Jab for those fairies. Iron Head for the fairies. So yeah. Counter too. So next up we got Gardevoir. Garbodor. So Garbodor here is pure poison. Average defenses, it's got that aftermath ability, so it's gonna be damaging your opponent regardless. But again, like I said before, it gets spikes and T-spikes. It can Toxic. It has good coverage with things like let's see, it's gonna be mostly physical attack, base 95 attack, so it's not to be slept on. But it's got Body Press. A lot of things get Body Press this generation. Drain Punch is good. It's good. It get Gunshot. Rock Blast, Seed Bomb is gonna be good coverage for like ground types. And so Pain Split can be useful. Haze is gonna be useful, but other than that, that's kind of what it does. I kind of expected to come in. It's kind of bulky, so it can switch in, set up some hazards, get that aftermath, and kind of just like suicide itself. Next up, we got Cinccino, the only Pokemon over base 100 on his team. Cinccino, but it's relatively weak. I think it's only base 95. Base 95 attack. But with the Skill Link ability, it's got Bullet Seed, it's got Rock Blast, it's got Tail Slap, and it does get Knockoff U-turn. So that's probably going to be the set most weeks, like a Knockoff, Tail Slap, Bullet Seed, and Rock Blast, or like a U-turn in there every now and then. So this thing's kind of like a one-trick pony kind of thing. It can run Skill Link King's Rock. It can run Skill Link Choice Band, Life Orb, Expert Belt, But it's got decent speed, base 115. But again, like I said, the only Pokemon over base 100 on Martin's team. Yeah, so no priority on his team, and he's got no cleric, and he's got limited recovery with Corviknight. Really, only he doesn't have a lot of synergy with he got synergy with Corviknight, but I thought he would go more of the defensive bulky route with Corviknight, but Corviknight's the only reliable recovery on the team. Yeah, but overall, I do like the diversity. I do like how well-rounded it is. I do like the hazard control. I do like each and every one of his Pokemon. So I do give this like a solid A. Solid A on the team over here. Yeah, and we're at the home stretch, guys. Whoo, we almost made it. Hang in there. Second to last, the penultimate team. We got Amanda here, aka Toasty, with the coach of the unknowns. So let me read off her team real quick. We've got Clefable, Diggersby, Jolteon, Doublade, Haxorus, Heatmore, Pangoro, Avalugg, and Mantine. So looking at the team, you got Clefable here. Clefable's a great fairy type pick. Reliable recovery. Well, I wouldn't say reliable because it only gets moonlight, so certain weathers like sand is gonna hinder that. So no soft boiled, no unaware. So that's sad. That's really unfortunate. Clefable was better in the past because of the fact that it could just come in and neutralize any of the setup, being unaware. But with it. Magic guard ability is still not that bad, so it's not going to take any hazard damage. It's not going to take any like status damage, so that's good. It's got good coverage, great coverage. It gets Stealth Rock still, so Clefable's still not a bad pick. It's still a really good pick. I like Clefable's pick. Next up, we got Diggersby. Diggersby is a favorite of hers, I can tell. Well, same was with Clefable. A lot of her Pokemon, like honestly, the first 5 are like some of her key Pokemon that she tends to draft most of the time or use in most leagues, most battles. But Diggersby, we got here with the huge power ability. You know, it's gonna be busting teams. If you slap a scarf on it, it can just honestly win games by itself and sweep. Once you weaken your opponent enough with like hazards or other Pokemon, then you just Scarf EQ everything or Scarf return everything, stuff like that. So Diggersby is going to be a wall breaker, huge punching holes into opponent's team. It gets quick attack, so it can actually sweep with maybe it can be choice banded quick attack with huge power. It's going to be doing lots of damage, 50% to most things that aren't like walls. So yeah, so next up we got Jolteon. Jolteon adds a little bit of speed to the team. It's actually the only Pokemon over base 100 on her team, base 100 speed. Add some U-turn Volt Switch synergy with Diggersby, Jolteon. And I like the Jolteon's pick. It's fast, doesn't have too much coverage, just mostly Shadow Ball and Volt Switch Thunderbolt. But that electric immunity with Volt Absorb is going to be helpful, and that base speed is going to be helpful as well, so it prevents Pokemon from sweeping and allows it to revenge some things and Volt Switch and get on out of there and gain some momentum. Next up, we got Doublade here. Doublade, I like Doublade. I actually traded for it in my other draft league, so I sign off on this pick. I approve of this pick. Doublade with the Eviolite item. Like I said many times in this video, Eviolite got a buff. Well, not a buff, but it's better this generation. A lot of things don't have knockoff, and having a knockoff user on your team is really big this generation. So Doublade also getting priority with Shadow Sneak. Swords Dance Shadow Sneak is good. Shadow Claw, Iron Head, good coverage. I think he gets close combat again this generation. But Sacred Sword is gonna be good to help so that it breaks through any like defensive setup. But yeah, the blade is going to be really bulky. Good fairy switch in on the team. But yeah, if it gets that Eviolite off though, so it's going to be easily revenged on the special side. So next up we got Haxorus. So Haxorus is probably going to be the best Pokemon on his team. Hold up. Did I forget Martin's? Yeah, I did. So let me just say real quick, Martin's X Factor highlight Pokemon on the team. I will pick Colossal. So I think Colossal is going to be important on the team if he brings it. When he brings it, I feel like if he knows how to use it well, Colossal can put in work and actually change the tide of the game. Back to talking about Haxorus on Amanda's team. So Haxorus, really dangerous. I've had to prep for it before. So with some teams, if you don't have an answer, this thing just beats your team. It can just set up one Dragon Dance. Honestly, it just takes one, and then it sweeps your whole team. Luckily, it doesn't have too much speed, so you can slap a scarf on your fastest Pokemon and try to revenge it. But it's a Dragon type, so it's going to resist a lot of types. It's going to be really bulky too. And, you know, she got switch-ins. You know, not too much because it's not really much reliable recovery, but you do got that Clefable right there. So, yeah, that Dragon Dance, that coverage, and super strong. So keep that in mind. Next up, we got Heatmore. Heatmore, have a little bit of experience using it. I've drafted it before. It's got underrated coverage. Things you wouldn't expect it to get, like Giga Drain. I do think it gets knockoff. I don't know if it kept knockoff this generation. Let me double check. Heatmore. So it does get Flash Fire, so the fire immunity, but nope, no knockoff. So it has a both good attack and special attack stats, so it can be mixed, it can be both. So it does get Sucker Punch priority, so that's important to note. Will-O-Wisp as well, Thunder Punch. It gets Hone Claws, so it can set up, like I said, Giga Drain before. Flamethrower, Flare Blitz, Fire Punch, Fire Lash, Drain Punch, Night Slash, Shadow Claw, Superpower. So a lot of physical attacks, throat chops for that dark coverage. A lot of physical attacks, even though the special attack is higher. But Heatmore is going to be an interesting pick. It's slow and not too bulky, so it's not as threatening as it could be. And we'll see how she uses it. So next up we got Pangoro. I like the Pangoro pick. Pangoro. Let me check if it gets knockoff this generation. I always gotta check for that because something's lost and something's in it. So, yep, it lost knockoff as well. So no knockoff on Pangoro, which is huge. But it does get, Darkest Lariat. So that helps balance that out. It does have a lot of coverage, so let me just start throwing it out. It gets priority with Bullet Punch. It gets Circle Throw, Close Combat, Crunch, or Darkest Lariat, or whatever. Drain Punch, so that's good. It gets that recovery. Earthquake, Facade if it wants to get burned. So let me see what kind of abilities it gets. It gets Scrappy to hit those ghosts. You can just start spamming that fighting type move and hit those ghosts. Mode Breaker, that EQ to hit those levitates. Yeah, and then Iron Fist for those punching attacks like Drain Punch, Bullet Punch, Fire Punch, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch. It gets a lot of punches. It gets Gunk Shot and Iron Head for those fairies. It gets Poison Jab if you want a more accurate poison type move. It gets Stone Edge. It gets Swords Dance for that setup. X Scissors and Headbutt. So it's a really good coverage. It gets Parting Shot as well. So that's key. Next up, we got Avalugg. Avalugg. Not too sure what I think about Avalugg. Obviously, it's gonna be her spinner. I think it's her only hazard removal. Let me check on Mantine if Mantine gets Defog. I can't remember. No. So, yeah, Avalugg is gonna be her only hazard removal. So, that's not good. And it's really bulky though, really bulky. So you can put a lot in the special defensive side. It gets body press, so that helps with the coverage, like an ice coverage, like some ice Pokemon a steel type Pokemon that tries to come in, like a Copperajah, you can body press that shit. It gets recover, so it can stay healthy, but ice type is not a good defensive type. It gets a lot of weaknesses: fighting weakness, steel weakness, fire weakness, rock weakness. So, yeah, so not a lot of coverage too either, if I recall. It does get body press and crunch, steel coverage, obviously ice, rock, fighting, but I guess that's good enough. Iron head for the accuracy. But yeah, so Avalugg, that's what Avalugg's doing. It's got decent base attack. And then next up, we got Mantine. So looking at Mantine, let's see. Does it get Roost at least? Yes, it does get Roost. So Roost, no Defog, no U-turn. So it's just mostly a bulky switch-in. Gets Haze to cancel out those setups. Gets Body Press. It gets Ice Beam. It gets Scald, Air Slash, Surf, Tailwind. Yeah, so what it's mostly going to be doing is coming in, healing, and then a really passive Pokemon though. So not a fan of Mantine. It does have that water immunity, but I'd rather have a Jellicent in my opinion. So yeah, overall this team has a lot of wall breaking potential. No grass types, but that's not that bad. But a lot of the team, most of the team is physical. You do have Jolteon there, you have Clefable there, and a little bit of Mantine, but all the main threats, Diggersby, the Blade, Haxorus, Pangoro, are all physical attackers. So keep that in mind. But I do like the team, but it has a lot of subpar Pokemon in my opinion. Things like Heatmore, Avalugg, Mantine. Yeah. So overall, I do want to give this team grade a solid B. It's not bad, but it's not great. A lot of things like Pangoro lost knockoff, Clefable got lost unaware. But Haxorus is very threatening. Jolteon's good. Diggersby, a lot of threats. Wall breakers, like I said. But yeah, solid B. The highlight Pokemon, the X Factor Pokemon I do want to point out on the team is, I don't want to say Haxorus because that's the obvious one. That's the obvious Pokemon that's going to be putting in the work. But let's see if she can't make Pangoro put in some work. I think Pangoro is a great Pokemon. Parting Shot helps it gain momentum and a lot of coverage. So really bulky too. Yeah. And then last but not least, guys, this is where we're nearing the end of the video. I don't know how long it's been. I'm not gonna check, but last up we got Quentin here, coach of the Flower City Phalanx. And let me just read off the team. We got Mew, Milotic, Arcanine, Obstagoon, Roserade, Braviary, Raichu, Golurk, and Durant. So going through my notes, I do want to say it's got a really strong Fire, Water, Grass core. We got Milotic, Arcanine, Roserade, one of the best, if not the best, Water, Fire, Grass core in the league. I really like it. All three with reliable recovery. All three with great coverage, great attacking stats, great just great overall, good abilities. I like that. Good hazards, Mew sets hazards, all types of hazards, Stealth Rock, Spikes, T-Spikes. Roserade sets Spikes, T-Spikes. Golurk sets Stealth Rock, so it's got good hazards, but not really any hazard removal. I'll have to check on Braviary, But if Braviary doesn't get defog, I honestly don't think. Yeah, okay, Braviary does get defog. No Roost this generation, so that doesn't get the Trinity like it used to. It lost the Trinity effect. But Braviary is the only hazard removal on his team. So keep that in mind. Mew, it's a good pick, but I've had it in the other league, my other draft league, and honestly, the lack of reliable recovery on Mew is glaring. It's very frustrating when you want it to be a bulky that week, when you want it to come in and will-o-wisp and just start roosting and just recover up, and you turn out of there and defog and all that stuff, but it lost defog, it lost recovery. So it's mostly just going to be setup. Like, it's going to be coverage because of how much coverage it's got, and it's going to be setup. It gets Nasty Plot, it gets Dragon Dance, it gets Calm Mind, Swords Dance, all sorts of stuff. Yeah. No Fairy type, no Dragon type, so that's interesting. I do want to talk about Durant a little bit. I like Durant speed tier in this. Overall, I like Quentin's speed tier. We got Raichu with some speed. We got Braviary decent speed. Roserade with some above average speed. Same with Obstagoon, above average. Arcanine, a little bit of average, above average. Milotic, average. Mew, above average. So good speed tiers, but Durant here, I think it's his fastest. No, Raichu is probably his fastest. Yeah, Raichu's fastest, but it's a good steel type for his team. It gets priority with first impression. It gets set up. Oh no, it doesn't get set up. I had it in the other league and I ended up dropping it because I realized it doesn't get home claws this generation. It lost home claws, so that kind of sucks. But it's still a great mon regardless. Hustle, kind of again, you're gambling with fate there. You might end up missing some of those key hits. But yeah, next up I want to talk about Arcanine. So Arcanine's a great bulky fire type. Heavy duty boots allows it to come in with hazards on the field and not take damage. Will-O-Wisp, Morning Sun, strong, great coverage. Honestly got better in the generations, and Arcanine was already a top tier fire Pokemon in the league. So Arcanine, great pick. Milotic, I want to talk about Milotic. Recovery, good. I guess good coverage. It doesn't need much coverage besides, I guess, Scald and Ice Beam. I mean, it's kind of like a better Vaporeon, in my opinion. If I were to get a bulky water type, it would be Milotic. Flame Orb, Marvel Scale allows it to take a lot of defensive attacks, and it's already super bulky on the special defense side, so it's going to be incredibly hard to break. And Mirror Coat helps it threaten out those special attackers that want to try to 2-hit KO it. So keep that in mind. Next up, we got Obstagoon. So Obstagoon is, haven't really seen that thing in action too much. It's one of those new Pokemons, but it does get set up. It's really bulky, especially on the defensive side. And a dark normal type. So it's a great ghost answer, good psychic answer. It's immune. But that 4-time weakness to fighting is going to be interesting. Yeah, so next up, let's talk about Roserade. So Roserade, good coverage, great speed, good hazards, natural cure. Same thing basically as Roselia, but not as bulky and stronger and faster. So it's got aromatherapy, leech seed, synthesis, but it can be a status absorber. Come in, just start hitting away with Sludge Bombs, Giga Drain, Shadow Balls, Dazzling Gleams, stuff like that. Again, no fire coverage this generation, no HP fire, no hidden powers. So that's going to be, yeah. Next up, Braviary. So Braviary gets U-Turn, Defiant, so for those defogs, but it does get defog. Bulk up still, and great coverage. It gets things like Iron Head, Night Slash, I believe, and then Return. Close Combat is a new addition to its coverage arsenal. And then Golurk here helps with the immunities. Electric immunity for Milotic. Fighting immunity for Obstagoon. So, so that helps with Golurk. Golurk can set up some Stealth Rocks. It's decently bulky. Might be able to run the Assault Vest if you don't want to run Stealth Rocks. Um, and then it's actually really strong too, but it's on the slow side, so keep that in mind. But uh, it's bulky, so it's going to be able to take a hit and hit back hard. And then I already talked about Durant. So overall, looking at the team, I like the Water, Fire, Grass core. I like Obstagoon. Not that much of a fan of Mew this generation. The rest is okay. Oh wait, I haven't talked about Raichu. So Raichu is his fastest Pokemon. Volt Switch, great coverage. Things like Grass Knot, Dark Pulse. What else? Let me look it up. I just know it has great coverage. So Grass Knot is one for sure. It could be mixed too, I think. So both base 90 in attack and special attack. Lightning Rod allows it to be immune and get that boost. So it gets Brick Break. It could be mixed. It could be Fake Out. It gets Nasty Plot. It gets Nuzzle, Play Rough, Thunderbolt, Volt Tackle, Wild Charge, things like that. It doesn't get Grass Knot. Oh yeah. It still gets Grass Knot. Focus Blast. That's one I was gonna say. Focus Blast. So that's key. But yeah, good coverage, fast, all that stuff. So overall, I do notice that it is pretty weak to flying. Not anything that resists the flying. So flying spam, dragon weak. No fairy types. So dragon can just, something like Dracovish, Scarf Outrage can just start punching holes, or like a Haxorus, one Dragon Dance, and then Outrage. It's weak to dark. The only thing that comes in is Obstagoon. And it's also weak to ground. No immunities besides Braviary, and everything else is hit neutrally. So overall, I do want to give this team a solid B. I do like the Pokemon, but it's got a lot of weaknesses. Not that many resistances, and feels like it lacks a bit of synergy and momentum. A lot of good walls, but like Arcanine, Milotic, and stuff like that. But yeah, solid B. The X Factor highlight Pokemon I do want to go with is Obstagoon. So I want to see if Obstagoon can put in the work, see what that thing will do. And so those are the team analysis, guys. Now let me go to the rankings. Let me see, where was it? It was in notes. Did I have it here? Let me see. I'm just gonna try to see over here. Yeah, here we go. So TML rankings. All right, wait. These are not right. So I redid them. So let me do it live right now. So first, I do have my team, so that stays the same. I do think my team is the best in the league, and I feel like it covers the synergy pretty well. So I gave it a solid A. Next up, I actually have I do have Steven up there second. But Austin goes down. I gave it an A minus, I believe. Let me do that real quick. A minus. And it's not number 3. Number 3, I have actually Martin. What the heck? When did I do this? I'm really confused with these rankings, because I thought I had given Martin an A. I think it was after I read, because I'm using helping with David's ranks as well. So, reading those kind of help influence some of my stuff with his additional comments. But yeah, so let me just redo this right here, right now. So, wait. No. Save your trenches or discard them. I'm gonna discard them. So let me go back here. So yeah, so I don't have Austin here. Let me copy it. Copy. And put it down where I think it should go, which is 6th. So I have Austin at 6. And then copy Reggie at 7. So yeah. And then Martin, I have it higher up. I believe David actually ranked Martin number 1. I don't agree with that at all. He's got, like, if you guys want to go through it, I've already listed the weaknesses on the team. But it's up there. I've got Martin up there at number 3. Yeah. No, number 4. Ryan is number 3. I got this all mixed up, guys. I'm so sorry. I should have been more prepared. I did this a while ago. It's been taking me a while to do this list and to do these ranking videos. But yeah, so I got paste. So I got Ryan here. I've got Martin here. And then I've got, David. This was A. Let me see. Martin, where's Martin? Yeah, A. And then I got David as an A. Do I got David as an A? It says here A minus. A minus. A minus. It's kind of like that. Let's keep it A minus. And I got Austin at A minus. Then I got here Reggie at 7. Kind of like right in the middle, right between the middle. And then, let me see. And then after that, I've got Charles. I actually put Jose higher. Yeah. Yep, Charles, Jose, Amanda, Quentin, John. Yeah. So that's how it goes, guys. Did I give Quentin? So I gave B, Quentin. So Charles. Yeah, Charles B plus. Jose B plus. No, I gave Jose a B. B. Amanda, Quentin. So Quentin a B minus. No, yeah, B minus. I'm gonna change that back in the video. Probably do, just to let you know, B minus. I agree with it being a B minus for Quentin. He's got a lot of weaknesses. No, I'll keep it B. He's got a good fire, water, grass core. There we go. And then John, I had a D at first, and now I got a C minus. So, alright guys, sorry about that. There are the rankings. Let's just go through it. Number 1, I got Scott. Number 2, I got Steven. 3, Ryan. 4, Martin. 5, David. 6, Austin. 7, Reggie. 8, Charles. 9, Jose. 10, Amanda. 11, Quentin. And 12, John. So, so looks about right, guys. That's the rankings analysis and team analysis video. Hope it wasn't too cluttered and too discombobulated and too many and a lot of coughing. I guess that my coughing went away. This took me a long time to get together, guys. I'm so sorry. I have, a couple jobs that take up a lot of my time. Got family stuff, but I don't want to go through the excuses. But here it is, guys. It's finally here after a week. It's been 2 weeks, but after 1 week of battling, almost 2 weeks of battling, finally got it here. So if you guys like it, please give a thumbs up, guys. I put in a lot of work for this. Subscribe for more stuff. Leave a comment down below if you have anything that you feel is different, any criticisms, any praises, and just anything at all. I'm very interactive with my audience. I will reply, and yeah, I like to keep a what do they call a dialogue open with my fans. So again, a lot of my fans are those in these drafts. So I wish you guys the best of luck. And just because I graded your draft a certain way, or I put you in a certain rank, that doesn't mean anything, guys. This is just all about team, and a lot of these things also have to do with how well you use the Pokemon you have, and the synergy with behind it. That's why I mostly put Steven at 2. I feel like there's lots of synergy there. I really like that, and yeah, and that's with the team, guys. So there can be great teams that are just like individual players, but as they work together, like it's more of like an intuition, feeling into it kind of thing. And that's just my opinions. I just want to do a little disclaimer that these aren't just my opinions. I'm not stating them as fact, obviously. But yeah, so again, if you guys like the video, please like it down below, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and I will catch you guys next time. Lates.